move on to some WrestleMania talk.
Yes.
And who's gonna lead the way into this WrestleMania talk is gonna be Ford too.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
so many things in this WrestleMania, right? We were supposed to go to the last WrestleMania.
Yep.
Obviously, COVID happened and it really sucked, but we were so excited. Whatever, we'll be watching this one from home. Um, that WrestleMania wasn't really what we were expecting. With it being back down here again, it has some promise, right? There's some matches in there that has some promise. I think the whole angle of everyone really wanting that championship from Roman Reigns, how important it is to every person. Like it really shows. I think that's a good part of the show. Um, and I think that match with Daniel Bryan and Edge, I think that's going to be amazing. But what do you think? Tell us about what we got coming up in WrestleMania and what really stands out for you in this WrestleMania.
Well, I have to say, like you mentioned, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge, of course. And even if you take uh, Daniel Bryan out of the equation, you still will have a great fight with Edge and Roman Reigns. That's a main eventer anywhere you put it, and of course, WrestleMania is the best place to do it. But I have to talk about this WrestleMania not only because of COVID and everything going on is different, and that's one of the reasons why I'm actually wearing this shirt because I'm actually supporting the young blood, the newcomers, and this is the first time we're actually seeing a lot of fights. We're already matched, and all of them, or I should say, at least 70% of them are new people, and that's what we actually need. And I read some comments online, people talking about, oh, this WrestleMania is not as strong. Um, what if we put these people? We want to see such people fighting, whatever. And the reality behind it is like, if we keep on fighting with the same people or putting the same people on TV, uh, like from the previous era, then at some point we're gonna be without, new talent. So we have to somehow develop all of the new talent. We have to expose them to events such as WrestleMania, and especially this is gonna be the first time in almost 2 years that we're gonna have spectators live in the event. So it's gonna be really promising. What do you think? What do you think is like? What's your favorite match so far? Is it only that one, like the Daniel Bryan fight match?
No, I got a couple other ones I'm interested to see in. I think a lot of people are bashing one in particular, and you know, to what you're saying, Izzy, if you agree, um, we do have to get the young blood into these shows and show their talents. That's what they're there for. They're some of the most talented wrestlers on the planet, and beating it with a dead horse with older, fighters, and you kind of get old. You got kind of get tired when you had the Fiend and John Cena last year, and you know Goldberg and stuff, and it kind of gets old a little bit, right? So we want to get that new in there, but Shane McMahon is a that dude gets it, man, and people are sick and tired of seeing this, and I think that's why Shane McMahon is getting so much flack that match. But he is amazing. And to me, like I've told you before, he's a poor man's mankind. The guy's willing to risk his body. He really is. And watching some of his fights, it's entertaining. And it's kind of scary sometimes to see him do some of the stuff that he does, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to definitely watch that fight or that wrestling match right there. And I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple matches that I see that have a lot of potential to be like pretty high stakes, entertaining matches. Um, I think one of them, and I don't know how y'all feel about it, but it should be interesting. Bad Bunny versus The Miz.
Oh yeah. Oh, let's talk a little bit about this. I like that you brought that up. What do you
I
think about that, Izzy?
I mean, let's be real. So Bad Bunny didn't do bad the first time. So, but he's a rapper.
Right.
And obviously, you know that the wrestling world is known for bringing in people who do other types of entertainment into this business. You got the Gronk, you got Gronkowski, who stepped in at one point. Floyd Mayweather even made an appearance in there.
Mike Tyson.
A- and Mike Tyson, and so obviously that's not really too common. But it's going to be interesting. The Miz, he's an older one. He's an older guy too. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the older guys that we can say like he's not new to the game. He's been in this game for the past like what I want to say like 10 years.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah, he's been
He's a
in the game.
veteran.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's been in the game for a while. And so it's just going to be interesting to see what happens and how it goes, Bad Bunny looks like he's in good shape too. So, which is
I mean,
scary.
I think the Archer of Infamy is really gonna take this
Yeah.
match on, right? Like he's gonna
Yeah.
be the star of that one. And shout out to those Puerto Ricans, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to see it, but I think Miz and Morrison are selling the shit out of this match, man. I mean, their angles that they're taking is it's pretty good TV, and I think they're doing a hell of a job selling Bad Bunny here. Don't get me wrong, Bad Bunny can sell himself, right? It speaks for himself. But when it comes to the wrestling game, those guys are really selling it, and I like the Miz and Morrison approach and what they're taking, and I'm interested to watch it now because it's been fun to watch. Um, I don't know what you think for too, but it's pretty interesting.
I have to agree. And if you have to put someone like like big mainstreamer like Bad Bunny who connects with millennials and everybody nowadays through his music, you have to put it with with a veteran, just like you said, Izzy. The Miz will make you look amazing. He will make you look like you were a professional already. Every time Bad Bunny, this is what I think is gonna happen. Every time Bad Bunny like throws a punch, every time he jumps or whatever, the Miz is just gonna be in the right spot, taking the right punch, reacting the right way, just to make him, look better. So I think it's gonna be amazing. Let's see what happens. It can be the debut of a future champion. Who knows?
Well, and just to touch on that, like I was literally right when you were talking, I was like, and what if Bad Bunny shocks everybody and he's got some athletic abilities in the ring and he shows off some stuff? What if he does do that? I mean, he's a huge fan, loves Triple H, made a song called Booker T. He loves wrestling. What if he shocks the world and he has some ability? Does he stay? Does he become like a part-time and they ride that angle out? But what if he's actually pretty good? What do you think about that, man? Like I would love to see that. To be honest, The Miz came on like something similar. I mean, Miz was on some show or whatever it
Reality
was.
world, I
Right,
think.
right, and that worked, and he ended up in the industry. Was who's to say Bad Bunny can't do it?
They actually
I
thought that the Miz wasn't gonna be able to make it.
Right.
Just think about it. And now where's he at? Where's he's at? It's just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. He started off um, kind of rocky, trying to find a character, and by the time he's been in the game for so long, and I mean he really excelled, and now he's in the books,
He's still good.
you know, and he's still good.
Yeah,
Still relevant. Yep.
yeah, and still relevant. Yeah, I agree. Um, so that's definitely one I'm gonna watch and enjoy. Um, Rhea Ripley and
Oh,
Asuka. Wow. Um, wow. Like I thought this is what I thought. We are just gonna get Charlotte Flair and Asuka again. You know, I thought, hey, Vince was just gonna do what Vince does, and that's what we were gonna get. But bringing up Rhea Ripley at the right time to face Asuka, that's gonna be a good match, man. Like Asuka's so good. See, I'm torn. I'm a little torn because I love Rhea Ripley. I love her. She's a nightmare, but Asuka's so good. And Rhea Ripley's not really that good on the mic yet. And we all know Asuka's mic skills, but in the ring, she's special. So I don't know. I really don't know who to choose in this one. But it's going to be entertaining. I just hope that chemistry that they have, they build off right from the beginning. And that way we can watch that, that nice exchange from them. What do you think?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, like, this match is actually a great way. You know, like every time there's a WrestleMania, the next day they start the new season with the Raw.
Right.
So depending on who wins, it's gonna bring a lot of, a lot of interesting things going on. So we can add to this to the we can add as an element Charlotte Flair coming back next day challenging the winner. We got people right now. Becky Lynch is still at home, with her baby. We got Ronda Rousey. There's so many things that could happen. That's what's so interesting about this match. Because if you have to pick someone to match against those people that I mentioned, those wrestlers that I mentioned, it will have to be the winner from Asuka and Rhea Ripley.
Well, you name those names, and I just want to bring this to the conversation and throw this on the channel. It's a fantasy kind of thing, right? WWE fans or wrestling fans in general have a kind of fantasy match thing that they always come up with, and hey, like this would be amazing, and sometimes they're really good. Like I was telling Fortu Izzy and Fortu, you can chime in at any time. Just imagine Rhea Ripley beating Asuka, and she's having her promo moment at the end, and we just hear Becky Lynch's song come on. Oh,
Whoa!
and the pop just boom, boom,
Oh my god!
boom, because she's been out for a while, on maternity leave, and she comes in and she's talking and she's giving this promo and says, "Hey, look, Rookie's up here," because she had a little tussle with her on NXT when she went down to NXT during Survivor Series. Um, it was like 2019 or whatever it was. Uh, and she comes in and she's like, "Hey, yeah." She cuts her promo, and at the end, she's like, "And the man is back." And then Ronda Rousey comes on after her, bro. And we just hear that song and the pop and the level, and she comes back right after that. And it's just a crazy amount of emotions that you're gonna get. And then she comes down to the ring. And meanwhile, you still have Rhea in there. Oscar's in there, shocked as all hell. Becky Lynch just has a dirty look on her face, like, "What are you doing stealing my moment? And what are you doing back to my ring?" And Ronda Rousey is just, you know, has that kind of mean looking face on, has her leather jacket because she's rowdy Ronda Rousey, and she's ready to get it right then and there. And we have that iconic moment in pictures of those four amazing women in that ring. Dude, it would drive me nuts. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Another sip of the juice. Another sip of the
I have to
juice.
take some water. I have to take some water after that for sure.
But
It's just
like,
water, guys. It's just water.
I got juice. I'll never tell you what it is. Maybe one day. But what do you guys think about that? Like, what that would blow the top off, right? I mean, how would you possibly surpass that as a WrestleMania moment for that, just for that year? Because there's been so many. How could you beat that?
Wow. I guess the only way, actually, there's no way. There's no way to top that. If you ask me what's the perfect moment or when to do it, when it will be the perfect moment to do it, that will be the right time, and those will be the right wrestlers or the right people to do it.
Right?
I mean, we already have a huge comeback in Edge. We already have, people coming from, the Attitude Era, and people that brought nostalgia. But this kind of people right now, they're the ones that can pull out something like that. Pretty much, I don't see nobody else topping. If that happens, then nobody else can top it.
Well, you know why it'll be a big shock too, just to think about it. Rhonda's contract is up, I believe, that weekend. So it would be a big shock because everyone thinks, all right, her contract's up, she's out of WWE. But then if she shows up, it's like, damn,
That's how you know.
she's back again. So that's gonna be good.
Mhm.
Uh, next thing that's gonna it should be really good. I don't know if they're going to do it like the last WrestleMania, or like how they did Undertakers and they did the Fiend and John Cena. It was very cinematic.
Right.
And it was very entertaining. I think it was awesome. I think Undertaker's was it was damn good.
Yep.
But AJ Styles could sell anything. That dude, AJ Styles, is amazing. But that's besides the point. The Fiend and the Viper with Alexa Bliss, that should be good because man, Randy Orton he's old, reliable. I mean, he's obviously got some age, but he's damn good, man. And I'm interested to see what Bray Wyatt has in the in his mind for this, what he worked up for this because he's he's nuts. That dude's crazy. Uh, so whatever he comes up with this one, it's gonna be fucking good.
Oh,
That's just what I think.
oh yeah. Well, I guess the real question is, where do you go from what Randy Orton has been doing for the last few weeks, where he started spitting, black poison or whatever that was. I'm gonna call it the juice just because of you, not the black juice. Um, like my question would be, where do you go from there? Like if you're going to WrestleMania and if you don't have a cinematic match, just as Undertaker and AJ Styles, how do you like if you're WWE? How do you go from there? That's why it's been intriguing me. Um, and then also, I have to ask you, what do you think about that mask from the Fiend? Do you think it's that's a little too much?
you know, um, it got a lot of backlash online. I mean the fans tore into it.
Right.
He looked to some people like a mummy that was burnt. So he looked like a mummy wrapped up and then they burned him. I think it was a strong play on that angle when, Randy burned him. It was a strong play on that. It was tantalizing as hell though. I mean, it was kind of scary looking though. I got to admit, it was
Yep.
pretty crazy. Um, but how do you come back from that? Are you gonna stay like that? You know what I mean? Like that's something that you have to think through. I'm not gonna go against Bray on this. He's intelligent. This is his character. He has a plan. So I'm just gonna let it roll through. I won't give my opinion just yet. We'll see how he changes over, and then we can come back and talk about it whenever that happens. But
I
I'll let it play out.
We have to trust the process.
Trust the
And
process.
if you're trusting the process, who better than that? Than Bray Wyatt. He's just a genius. And then the surprising element, we can forget about Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
That's gonna be interesting. What she's gonna do in that match. Uh, it's just a different angle, a different perspective. We don't know. That's one of those matches you cannot actually expect an outcome. There's no way what's gonna happen. So that's what that's the magic behind this match.
Right. Agreed.
I think we're getting towards a period where um where the older guys are going to start getting weeded out by the younger guys. Because it happened a long while back, and it will continue to happen. These guys that are still new to the game, and I can kind of say still new because Bray Wyatt isn't really that old into the game. You know what I mean? He's only been in, I want to say, 5 years, maybe, right?
Yeah,
Um,
new roster. Yeah. Mhm.
so he's still kind of new to the game. Whereas you got somebody like Randy Orton, the Viper, who has been in it for a long, long time. So I could see Bray Wyatt taking the dub here, um, and really giving it to Randy Orton, you know. And it's going to happen. And what better stage to do it than to do it at WrestleMania? Um, you know,
Izzy, I agree with you. I think that's the time to do it, right? But Vince has not proven that to us. He has a track record of not putting the guys over, and these guys put in work 200 days a year. They're just putting in work, slaving, making sure that, they put out the best product out there. And then come WrestleMania, he doesn't put them over. I mean, we've seen it so many times.
Mhm.
When is this story going to end with Vince? And I just don't know. I don't know because he keeps pairings like this at WrestleMania throughout all the whole year. He brought back Edge at Royal Rumble, right? The previous Royal Rumble, whatever it was. And then he stayed on. had a little time off or whatever, and then stayed on, blah blah blah. Then he won the Royal Rumble. This one. When are you going to give other guys that deserve the chance a shot? Cesaro's finally going to get a shot in WrestleMania, right? Which is amazing, and I hope that Seth Rollins puts him over because it's due. We need to see this, right?
Mhm.
But misusing guys like Aleister Black and such, when are we gonna finally get that and not just put work throughout the year? And when WrestleMania comes, old reliables are gonna come here and they're gonna beat you. And we're not gonna put you over yet. You know?
I think what it comes down to is these guys are legends. These guys that are even still in, um, they're still legends, and they're still fighting. They're still wrestling, and the new guys have a lot to prove. And I think the only way and the only time that Vince won't have his hand in this is when he's 6 feet under.
I agree. It's
Yep.
so
That is
true.
the only
Unfortunately,
time,
true.
because I mean, there's gonna come a time. Triple H is most likely has his hands in everything and everything that's going on as well. And um, it's just you got a bunch of legends, you got a bunch of people, and there's a huge, huge, huge fan base that love these guys so much. And to see upcoming people even just get the chance to just fight, even if they lose, that brings their level of popularity up so much more. And that's how, and yes, you're right. They don't they don't get the win, but look at how many people, how many of these wrestlers have lost a match against a legend, and then all of a sudden they become a legend in their own name later on down the road.
I mean, it's not many though. Not right now. I mean, it's just I don't like that approach. I Vince, I got more to say. Let me get your take for two before I think of the reason
Well, I have
why.
one last comment about the Fiend. I mean, yeah, the Fiend and Randy Orton match, and I have to end up with a what if moment.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
okay.
because you were talking about pushing others, people being underutilized, and I agree with that. And I think this will be the perfect moment, and I'm gonna explain why. But who was the tag team partner before for Alexa Bliss? You remember?
Yes, I do.
So would you imagine Randy Orton bringing someone like Nikki Cross
Wow,
as a surprise element for the fight,
wow.
taking care of Alexa Bliss because
Yes,
they're into this. A man cannot hit a woman, or
right.
so and so. So in the wrestling world, that's what they do. They bring someone.
Yeah,
So I guess that story was never ended. If you think about it, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross just part ways,
right.
and it was unexpected. So I guess if Vince or story directors or whoever's behind the stories, if they think about it, this would be the best way to close that out. I
Wow.
think I think they can pull it out. They can do it.
Fortu, I think you're onto something there. I think it takes Alexa Bliss out the equation for the match, right? And it's just a one-on-one with Fiend and Randy. What we all want to see, a fair match, but also giving conclusion and closure to that tag team. Watching Alexa Bliss's reaction, Sister Abigail or not, to Nikki Cross coming into that ring or just popping up in aid of Edge is going to be iconic. I think that would be amazing. I think we're going to be like, holy shit. No, they didn't. I like that.
So
What's
that's my
your
final comment from that fight, at least.
okay? What's your
Um,
comment on putting the guys over for WrestleMania and Vince?
I agree, and again, I was talking about young blood, but let's step aside from young blood. There's people actually that've been there already for at least 1 or 2 years, so they're not considered rookies anymore. We got the ricochets, we got the. I know the hurt business was relevant, but they're just announced they're being split up. Which,
Why?
anyways, that's another segment probably. But I think they have so many people that deserve it. They got an Andrade right now that they just let walk out of the company, and it's just people sitting in the in the back getting paid. Which I have to do a parenthesis. Andrade was getting paid $3 million a year, but just for being sitting down in the back. Anyways, but they got people like Alistair Black. We talk about him already. They got so many people. They got a roster over 200 people, and I assume like at least 150 are not being used. Just throwing a number, it might be. I think it's actually even more than that. But now it's the perfect time. And again, WrestleMania is pretty much the last episode of the season. That's how they are. They build their stories. I guess now is the perfect time to start. The next year they've been losing TV interest. They have to sell their WWE applications to Peacock now. They're trying to earn that money, but the answer is right in front of them. They can turn what they have into so much money just by utilizing the right people. I don't know if you guys remember when Paul Heyman was the Raw general manager. I don't know how long that lasted, but I guess it was like less than a month. And he started using Ricochet, Cedric Alexander. He started delegating and trusting people. At least give him a chance.
Paul Heyman's amazing. Paul
That's my
Heyman's amazing.
general thought about
He's a
that.
phenomenal writer. But you know what I think, and I'm glad that you brought that up with losing viewership and stuff. The reason why I think he's doing it this way, what happens when there is the Wednesday, battle with AEW? AEW beats NXT, right? But what's the demographic? The demographic for NXT, they're much older than the ones that are watching AEW. And the ones that are watching Raw and SmackDown, it's an older demographic. So what I think Vince is doing here is like, hey, this is the demographic that's normally watching our shows throughout the year. So we're gonna give them their favorites because of the age range and what they land, right? And we're gonna give them the wrestlers that they grew up watching and what they like. But the thing is, like, younger millennials and Gen Z are just not tuning in. But how
Right.
do you get them to tune in, Vince? Stop worrying about just making the dollar, and giving it to your older folks, but give them a blend of the new. Give them what younger millennials and Gen Z want to see, so they can tune in, right? And I think he's just worried about making that money throughout the year, and this is all what has always been working, and this is what the ratings show us. Change it. To your point, the time is now. Let the younger wrestlers, right, that can connect better with the younger millennials and Gen Z, really ride it out. This is the way to do it. I agree with you.
Well, the funny thing about it is like they actually announced they're gonna change NXT. The program they're gonna move it to Tuesdays after April 13th, if I'm not mistaken. But they're gonna have a surprise because the thing is they can probably get a little bit more or a bump in viewership, but it's not gonna be as high as they think. They think the problem is just they're competing with another company. That's not the only problem. And then plus everything going on, they're taking the best talent out of NXT, putting them in the main roster, not utilizing them. And then now you have another show, which is NXT, which is not considered anymore the training show. It's just their third brand. It's the third show for the week, like from the main roster. And they're still gonna have that issue because they don't know how to use. In NXT, I guess it's a little bit better situation because Hunter, Triple H knows how to utilize newcomers, and he has plenty of talent going on. But again, like it's just more than that. They have to go deeper, and that's why AEW has been beating them. They have, they have the solution for it.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up because our next episode, when we go over WWE again, we're gonna dip into some NXT, and then we'll dip into some NXT and AEW, just because they're on the same show. I know NXT is moving to Tuesdays, but we'll dip into some NXT on the next episode. And I'm actually gonna leave it off to that. I think we had a great show from our top fives and Edgardo's questionable putting Austin 316 where he was, but that's besides the point. We had some awesome honorable mentions, wrapped up with some WrestleMania talk, geared up for next week. Is there anything or any last things you guys want to add before we wrap up today's episode?
Well, I just have to say the following: if you like to be being a fan of wrestling, now's the time that you're gonna enjoy wrestling. We got AEW, we got of course WWE, we got a third brand on WWE, and we got other like New Japan. There's so many things. So now's the time to be a wrestling fan and encourage whoever's watching on that side to join. And pretty much it's a weekly thing. So that's our soap opera. Come and watch our soap opera. You're gonna love it.
Yeah. So Fortu saying, come and watch the shows, man. Enjoy some entertainment. We know it's fake. Come and watch.
That's it.
What you got, Izzy?
I mean, this was definitely entertaining for sure. It was really cool to just sit here and bring up some nostalgia, and talk about the past, talk about these legends that really made an impact in a lot of people's lives, not only their lives, but really changed television in general. And these it's just really cool to be able to talk about it with you guys, and obviously you guys are very knowledgeable, and when it comes to, and for two, you are very, very, very knowledgeable when it comes to this, and I really appreciate it because it really makes me want to dig a little bit more deeper into this, and get some more knowledge on this because it's just it's so interesting to hear other people's thoughts, and that's why we do this. Generally, we like to hear other people's thoughts, we like to discuss things, and really think outside of the box and see where everyone else is at and what other people think when it comes to wrestling. Again, we know it's fake, but hey, you know what, let's watch it, and that's really it. That's all I got right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been fun. I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, continue to watch this content. And that's the bottom line because Major X said so.